I'm Amanda Knox.
And I'm Christopher Robinson.
And this
is Who's Right? Between our usual Labyrinths episodes, we sit down to debate something quite serious.
Or silly.
And ask you, who is right?
It's me.
It's me.
It's me.
It's clearly me.
No, definitely me.
It's me.
Me?
No. Me.
It's me.
How could it be anyone but me?
Says the man sleeping on the couch. Welcome to Who's Right?
Yeah.
So just ahead of getting into a conversation or a debate about the subject of honesty, given the last episode with Keith Bolfin, I wanted to let everyone know that I have like the hard copy with like the cool foil cover, and it's going to be coming your way really soon, and it's really exciting, and it's a really good book, I promise. I wouldn't lie about that.
It is a book in which you bare your soul.
Indeed.
So thank you for everyone for pre-ordering free. If you haven't already, there's a pre-order link in the episode description. And let's get to the subject of lying or honesty.
Or honesty, or the lack thereof. So I think you're taking the position that sometimes it's good to lie. Is that what you're... Because here's the
Did
debate.
I say that?
Again, the question is honesty good or is it whack? And there is, I think, much heated debate about this. I mean, I'm even just thinking about how the last time I went in front of the Washington State Legislature, the police were like, we have to lie to do our jobs and protect the constituents. And I was like, do you though?
That's an interesting
though?
Side of the... I mean, not during interrogations they don't, but in terms of, would you totally ban undercover operations?
Sure, that's a great example.
I mean, maybe let's start with that. Like, it's an interesting exception.
No, I think we should not go into the exceptions and instead make some claims, and then we can talk about exceptions.
I think that the principle that you should never lie is one that's been put forward by various people, that it simplifies your life, a sort of moral commitment to never lying.
Yes, it does simplify your life.
And it's ethical, and there's just no reason not to do it. Now, if you take that to its logical extreme in every situation...
Which I'm going to argue that you can.
And I'm saying that you turn into Kramer or Larry David if you do that.
I do not think so. I argue... So, okay. There is a... God, I don't know what the word is in Japanese, but there is a way... So, first of all, honesty does not mean you... I think I'm making the exception of lies by omission in the sense that, like, I don't think anyone is entitled to or deserves your every thought.
Agreed.
And you do not have to be honest with everybody about everything you ever think or feel or experience. Like, in the sense that, like, you can set boundaries on what you choose to share with people or not. And so in the silly scenario of someone coming into the room and
they have a terrible haircut.
You can choose not to be Kramer and say, what the hell happened to your head?
But what if they say, what do you think of my haircut? What do you do if you've committed to honesty?
So if you've committed to honesty, what you can do is you can frame your response so that it is honest without being explicitly
I see you've cut your hair.
Or negative. Yeah, or, like... you can say, oh, wow, that's interesting. What style are you going for? Like, being curious about why they like it.
Isn't my baby cute? That's interesting.
Well,
what an interesting looking baby.
What you can say is,
why do you think he's cute?
You can say they're so sweet and little. That's true. So here, this is the thing. And there's this word in Japanese that I forget what it is. It's something like otaru or something, but I'm sure that's absolutely wrong. But the idea is that as you get older, you learn to tell the truth in a more sophisticated way.
You become more tactful.
You become more tactful about your truth telling and more selective in your truth telling. So I think that it is entirely possible to navigate your life by being a tactful and thoughtful, honest person. And in fact, I would say that we'd all benefit if we did that sort of, we're going to devote ourselves to just committing to not actually lying. Because I think the thing is, once you like cross the line and you say lying's okay, Like, it's a very, like, it's an immediately slippery slope, because when is it okay to lie? To what extent is it okay to lie? How comfortable do you become in lying? What does that do to you?
Well, I think we should come back to those bigger picture questions after looking at some specifics of how you and I have lied.
Okay. All right.
Past.
Yes. Are you asking me to confess?
I'm asking you to confess. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
What was the first lie you remember telling?
The first lie I remember telling was I drew on the wall in my bedroom.
With like a marker?
I don't remember if it was a marker or a crayon. It was some
You knew you weren't
implement.
supposed to draw on the wall.
I knew I wasn't supposed to do it. And it was clearly me, because I was, 3 or 4, and I had the ability to hold a pencil or pen and draw a shape with eyes
Deanna
and
didn't.
Legs. And Deanna was, 2 and couldn't. And when my mom came into the room, she saw it on the wall. And instead of saying, Amanda, what are you? She just said, Amanda, what happened here? And I said, Deanna did it. I lied. And my mom didn't say anything. She just was like, and then left the room. And I did not last 10 seconds before I came out of the room sobbing.
No, that's interesting. You're
sobbing. And saying, I did it, I'm sorry. and from then on out, I could not, like, I learned from a very young age that I just cannot lie. It's just not, I don't have the
I've
constitution.
noticed.
However, I have lied, and I've lied to you before.
You've lied to me before?
Yes. Okay.
You're going to admit a lie to me right now?
Yes. You know this lie, though.
What?
I have faked an orgasm before.
My God.
We've talked about this already.
We have? I don't remember this.
Okay, well, you don't remember anything.
You faked an orgasm with me?
Yes, I've faked with an orgasm with every person I've ever had sex with. So
why would you lie about that?
So here's the thing. The reason why is because women's bodies work differently than men's bodies, and sometimes whatever is going on with the chemistry or whatever, it's not working. You're not getting to where you need to do as a woman to orgasm. And I know, as a people pleaser woman, that's a real freaking bummer for the guy who's like trying to have a good time with you. And so instead of fessing up and saying, this isn't working for me, you go ahead and, even that sounds horrible, because it's like suddenly you're disconnecting from the person.
Yeah.
I would just pretend that I was having an orgasm.
I'm assuming this was a while ago in the early stages of our relationship.
Yes. And again,
not like last week.
No. I have since learned to let you know exactly how I'm feeling, because I feel comfortable telling you if I'm not into it or not. But like when you're first dating somebody, it's a bummer.
I've been in that scenario. I've faked an orgasm.
See? How do you fake an orgasm?
You shudder and moan, and then how do you do it? Same thing.
Well, but you have to have like stuff come out of you.
Okay, we're getting a little graphic here. In those mid-20s dating days, it's like you're wearing a condom and stuff, and you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
who knows?
They don't know. Yeah. Okay.
But I did it for the same reasons of like, you feel emasculated if you can't orgasm, right? And if you're too drunk or whatever it is, and which is probably what it was for me in that scenario. I don't remember. But I would argue that now, like, that impulse to lie about that comes from an insecurity, not being comfortable with your own sexuality, whatever, but also a misconception about what good sex is.
Sure. Yes.
Right?
So yes, we can argue that faking an orgasm is also not going to do the thing that you think it's going to do, which is like make the sex good for the other person. Like,
well, and that the binary you presented of like you either fake it or you say, it's not working for me, is a false binary, because the third option is to say, I don't think I can today, but this is fun. Let's keep having fun.
Sure.
Right? It doesn't have to be a like stop the.
Sure. That said, like, there are times when you find yourself in the middle of a situation and you're finding yourself really not into it and really wanting it to end. And so you fake an orgasm so that the ending comes faster.
That's a selfish lie as opposed to the lie of not wanting to hurt the other person's feelings.
Well, but like,
right?
It's a bummer to say to the person, like, sorry.
You're not doing it for me.
And so,
sorry.
Yeah, so you just go, wow.
If you were just hotter, maybe this would happen. Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever
that's
the
what
case
is. Right? That's the implication.
Yes.
Yeah.
The implication is there's some, I think saying it's not you, it's me in the middle of that situation is not very convincing. So you're just pretend. And so I wouldn't do that now, but I'm in a relationship where I know that I'm not going to hurt your feelings, and we know that just because this one didn't work, doesn't say anything about our relationship. It's just like that day my hormones are not cooperating, whatever. But all that to say that I have done that in the past. Do I regret it? I don't regret it because at the time I didn't have the language to communicate about it. And so I would have, if I hadn't.
I don't regret anything. I don't believe in regrets. That's a separate.
Well, that's a completely separate thing. But would I repeat that lie today? No. And
even if we were divorced or I died in a horrible accident, we're back on the dating scene, you found yourself.
No,
you wouldn't lie.
I'm secure enough in myself and my understanding of myself and my body that I don't feel compelled to lie about that. So again, it goes back to, how do you be a tactful, honest person? And sometimes people don't know how to be tactfully honest, which is why they lie. But I think that's a cop-out. Lie. And that's the cop-out. The white lie is a lie. People think that white lying is a good thing. And I'm arguing, no, it's a cop-out. It's simply because you don't have the tact and the language to be honest. And I think that it's a good thing to practice, even in the small stuff. Recently, my mom got a haircut that I thought didn't look good on her, and I had to think in my head, should I tell her? And I said no, because what I think about her hair is irrelevant.
I mean, this comes back to the Buddhist principle of right speech, right? Like, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And it might be true that you think her haircut sucks,
but it's not necessary for me to tell her,
and it's not kind. So it fails 2 out of 3 there. Right.
Right. Or, I mean, I could even say it in a kind way, like, oh, Mom, I think that your hair, it
would look better if you did.
Oh, next time you're at the haircut, maybe try this thing. Like, you can say it in a different way that could be kind. But is it necessary? No. Because you know what? My mom's hair is none of my business. So
I think lying is an interesting trait for humans, and other primates exhibit lying, I believe, chimpanzees and things like that.
Yeah, but isn't that so they can it's not like they're not doing white lies. They're just stealing shit from each other.
And pretending, hiding the banana behind their back.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's that behavior is evolved and universal is what that tells me. And I see it in...
when you get to a certain level of, even not
I'm looking at
animals.
Eureka, Eureka will... I'll be taking her to the potty and she'll, a little has leaked out into her underwear. And instead of saying, I had an accident, she says, Baby Echo poured water on my underwear.
Yeah. So the thing that I don't like about that is that she puts it on Baby Echo. Because she could have said, I poured a little water on my underwear.
Right.
But
she's
puts
already
it on Baby Echo.
3 years old, and she's displacing the blame onto someone else. Where did she learn that from?
I mean, she knows that. I think she's intelligent enough to realize that Baby Echo spills things. She notices that he spills things all the time, and he can't defend himself.
I know.
So it's...
So, I think what that tells me is that lying comes natural to us, and that we have to learn not to lie.
Sure.
In a weird way,
but
right?
that doesn't mean that it's not whack. Just because something comes natural to us doesn't mean it's not whack.
I'm trying to think of times that I've lied, and nothing's coming up.
Really?
Do you know of times I've lied to you? I don't think
to me?
I'm pretty I'm
no, you're
I'm borderline Kramer on the
yeah, you are honest to a fault in the sense that you are not tactful in your honesty.
Yes, I've gotten better at that over the years, but yes, I've been for a long time committed to not lying. Lies really bother me when other people lie to me.
Oh my God, me too.
And
Even a small one, even a small lie, it's like, why the fuck are you lying to me?
Yeah, because it shatters my trust with that person.
Okay, I feel like we're agreeing now that like lying is just bad.
Well, I think there are interesting exceptions,
Okay.
which maybe we should get into, but I mean, one of them is like law enforcement sting operations. I think we both agree that there are certain circumstances where it makes sense for authorities
to infiltrate,
pretend to be other people, to, if you're taking down the mafia, like.
Yeah, so I'm imagining really, like, I'm especially thinking of what do they call mafia crimes? Like, what do they call them? Like,
What?
they're not
Conspiracy?
like, yeah, conspiracy kinds of crimes where there are layers upon layers of people who are protecting secrets.
Yeah.
And the only way to like get the evidence that you need to actually protect people from these criminal organizations is to infiltrate.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a buddy who got caught dealing drugs in our early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And that included marijuana.
Well, he turned snitch, which is...
Yeah, well, this is the thing, right? He had X, I think it was primarily ecstasy and marijuana they found, but because of the ecstasy, they were going to they threatened him with a big prison sentence. And they said, look, or you can snitch for us. You can wear a wire and go and try and get us. We know you're the bottom guy on the totem pole here.
Yeah, we don't actually care about you.
If you can help us find dirt on someone else who's higher up the chain. And he was like, okay. He thought about it for a minute. He's like, I'd never do that. And then he found himself like handcuffed to a bench in the police station for a few hours. And he was like, okay, I don't feel any loyalty to, the thing he did is he didn't like rat out anyone who was like an actual friend of his. But he did have connections to other people he, was able to buy from. And then he went in and the police showed up and pretended to arrest both of them at once. And as they're like escorting him away, they're like, good job.
Yeah, if this was The Sopranos, he would have been...
he would have got whacked.
He would have got whacked.
So I'm like, that's a lie by the police and by him in order to stop another deadlier crime, a worse crime.
I mean,
setting aside the drug war.
Let's have a discussion about it.
I mean, that complicates it, but
yes, I also think that that's an interesting position that police put people into, which is threatening to throw the book at them, even though they don't really care about them, just so that they could like coerce them into lying for them.
Yeah,
which I would much prefer a police officer just have the guts to pretend to be a drug dealer and then do the dirt themselves.
Set it aside the drug war question, and let's say it's like human trafficking, which I think we universally agree is bad news and shouldn't be happening.
Yes,
right,
100%.
I'm in favor of police undercover and citizen undercover stuff in that sort of capacity to expose and stop those crimes.
So in what sense? Like they're pretending to be
a John, pretending to be a prostitute, whatever it is, right? I mean, I also think prostitution should be legal and with certain safeguards. These are different whose rights we need to remember. But I think we can both agree here that there are certain circumstances in which deception, lying by law enforcement for the purposes of stopping certain kinds of crime is useful and acceptable and ethical. Right?
Yes, I do.
You seem very reluctant to. I mean, it's like
again,
if you don't grant that, there's no undercover operations ever.
So can you chill before you start getting up in my face about this? So I'm trying to be thoughtful about this, and I'm trying to really think about, because I also know situations where sting operations ended up targeting people who had never committed crimes.
Mm-hmm. We did a whole episode about that.
Exactly.
It's episode, it's One Bite of the Elephant at a Time. If you want to go back to the Labyrinths archives, I think it's episode 10 or 11. Episode 11, I think.
Right. So for me, I am more comfortable with the idea of a police officer going undercover himself instead of getting, petty criminals to do their dirty work for them, I think that's ridiculous. Basically, they're just being like, hey, you loser, how about you risk your life to like get us the goods that we want, or else we'll just put you in between a hammer and a hard place. Like it's terrible what I think that that's unethical. When what they did to your friend was unethical.
You don't think that they should be allowed to pressure people to snitch?
I don't think that that's a good thing to do.
No. I mean, I think the argument they would make in response is that they would be extremely hamstrung if they didn't have that tool, because these people are already have relationships. And so what they're doing is exploiting the existing, when they flip somebody, like take the mafia case. Like if they get a low-level mafia guy,
So
right?
I'm fine with them flipping people if they're flipping people in a positive way instead of threatening them.
They're flipping those people by catching them in a crime and then saying, we're going to prosecute you and put you in prison for X amount of years, but we'll give you a deal if you flip.
Yeah, no, but for me, the thing that I find unethical about that is it goes to show that they don't really care about the crimes that guy was committing. They care about...
Well, it doesn't mean they don't care. It means that they're making a trade-off.
Hi, listeners. If you're enjoying Labyrinths, I think you'd love my new book, Free, My Search for Meaning. Even after I was released from prison, I still felt trapped in the story that had taken over my life. Free is about my journey to reclaim my identity and the mistakes and misadventures I had in trying to create my own freedom. It's also a guide to resilience, post-traumatic growth, and making peace with the past. Go to amandaknox.com to pre-order your copy of Free today.
It means they do care, but they care more about this other thing.
I need you to give me a second to explain my thought, which is a complex one.
Go ahead.
Which I think that if you are going to lie, you shouldn't force someone to lie for you. I think that if you are law enforcement, or say you're someone who used to be in a gang and you're thinking about leaving, and so you go to the police and say, I don't know how to leave, and then but then the police say, well, maybe we can come up with a way for you, like they can come up with a plan. Like, I just don't like the idea of people being coerced into lying, and especially risking their lives. Because they're between a rock and a hard place. I don't like that. So one.
Okay.
But two, I think the slippery slope thing with law enforcement also is a big thing, because if you're allowed to lie, like I think lying because you know that people are committing crimes and hurting people, and but you don't have the proof. I think that going undercover in those circumstances makes sense to me. But lying so that you can try to orchestrate a fake crime happening to see who will take the bait, as they do in sting operations, I think that's unethical. And I feel like that's did they create the criminal by creating the circumstances?
Yeah.
Like I don't like that, and that seems very, what's that movie where they predict crimes ahead of
Minority
time.
Report.
Yeah, it's almost like Minority Report to me. You've sort of created the outcome and then sort of brought people in.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I agree with you on sting operations where the crime may not have happened at all if they didn't create the circumstances for the crime to happen.
Right.
Right. And luring someone in and leaving a briefcase full of money there and seeing if someone picks it up and takes it and then going, aha.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's
or posing as a prostitute and going out and soliciting, and then someone says, yeah, okay, and then you arrest them.
Maybe there was just something about you and that person, and
So, but the mafia thing is the place where I think we actually disagree, because I think that it is totally okay for police to coerce someone with the threat of imprisonment if they're a low-level person in a criminal conspiracy in order to go after the high-level person. It's the same thing that prosecutors did when going after Trump, right? And for big political scandals. They find some low-level person and they say, look, we got you on this kind of fraud, Michael Cohen, whatever, right? And then they say, we'll cut you a deal and not prosecute you for those crimes if you testify against this other person.
So can I tell you why I don't like it? Because snitches lie. Snitches, just because you've coerced someone into becoming a snitch doesn't mean they're going to do the job that you want them to do, which is to get people, to prove that people, maybe this is like the prison coming out of me,
Yeah.
but like snitches get like it's not that like I think snitches should get stitches, but I'm saying that like I also know that like a lot of wrongfully convicted people got implicated by snitches who were incentivized by police, because snitches will tell police whatever the fuck they want to hear.
And that's why if the only thing that you're basing this on is just the word of the informant, it's a huge problem. You can't back that up with anything. If you're asking a low-level person of a criminal organization to wear a wire and then go get audio tape of some higher-level person admitting to crimes, that's a very different scenario.
What do you think, though, about the fact that as a police officer, like, police officers agree by virtue of entering into their career that they're risking their life every day to do their job. It seems like really intense to me that anybody should ask anyone to risk their life in order to do their job for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't think that it is
You think that just by virtue of being a drug dealer, you've already sort of signed away?
I think that like the world you're advocating for is that whatever minor crimes that low-level person has done, they should just be prosecuted for them, and they should not be offered any kind of deal for cooperating, right? I mean, I suppose cooperating and testifying is one form of cooperation, but
you can cooperate.
going
you can
undercover
and
pretending to be loyal to the criminal organization is a lie.
Yeah, and
right?
That's like a big deal to do.
Yeah,
like,
but they don't have to take that deal. No one's forcing them to take it.
I am aware of that, but I feel like when you're acting as if the police and prosecution don't wield the law against them like a freaking sledgehammer and like talk about like, oh, we're going to give you every charge that we possibly can in the book to make your life a living hell.
They do that.
And they do, like, it's not honest. That's prosecutors and police officers not being honest. When they, like, here's something that really pisses me off that's actually an important integral part of our system, is that there is flexibility in the interpretation of the law, because into the interpretation of what charges you should even give to somebody based upon your understanding of that human being. Like, there's a reason why there are different degrees of murder.
Yeah.
You're a psychopath and you like go after people of a certain or you're somebody who came home drunk and found your wife cheating with your best friend and you lost your mind. Like, there's a reason why there's a difference, and so you can interpret things differently. And the thing that I think that is really, really dishonest is when police officers or prosecutors say, look, we know you're guilty of like second degree, blah, 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 or like lower level crimes, but we can prosecute you for worse. And so unless you do what we say, we're going to prosecute you for more than what you actually did. And they can just do that with impunity. And I think that is insane.
Sure.
So if it was
the
case that they like didn't do that and didn't like flex the criminal legal systems like worst nightmares at people.
I hear you. There's like, what you're pointing out is that there are 1,000 or 1 million interconnected pieces of the criminal legal system, and that one form of dishonesty affects another.
Yeah.
And certain vagueness in the law and loopholes and things allows, that they might not win at trial with that, and they might know that, and they might know that they're never actually going to go to trial with that higher charge, but they'll threaten the higher charge to try and get the person to take a plea or whatever. Those are problems for sure. Do those problems necessitate that police should be banned from offering a reduction of sentence for a low-level crime if someone agrees to go undercover and wear a wire to try and take down a criminal organization? I still think that the police should be able to do that kind of mafia, anti-mafia work, basically. And this is maybe one I think we should agree to disagree and turn over to the patrons.
Yeah.
And move on to other forms of lying.
Okay. Like what?
Well, you find yourself in an interesting scenario semi-often when people recognize you.
Oh, sure.
And
that's another lie.
And I'm curious about, when they see you on the street and they're like, oh my God, you look so familiar. Did we go to school together? and
so typically,
how do you respond to that?
Well, so it depends on how they ask the question. If they say, "You look so familiar, did we go to school together?" and I know we didn't go to school together, I say, "I don't think so," and I shrug it off.
Mm-hmm.
If they say, "You look so familiar, how do I know you?"
Mm-hmm.
then I'm in a scenario where I'm sort of forced to decide if I'm going to tell a lie, because I know why they recognize me.
Yeah.
Do I care to be honest about
Yeah.
that? Or do I say, I don't know? And that's a lie. I do know. Like, I know why you think you
Yeah.
know my face. And I have done that before because I just did not want to have to deal with
Oh my God, you're Amanda Knox. Yeah.
yeah. And also, I didn't know what they would, because they don't realize why they recognize me. I also don't know what they think about me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just don't want to have to deal with that in my day-to-day going about my
I have
business
so much
life.
empathy for that, being in that position. And I'm glad I'm not in that position. And yet, I wonder about the thing you were saying at the top of this conversation about you never have to lie and there's always a tactful way to do it. Like, what is the tactful way to do that, and why haven't you done that? Or will you
Well,
do
actually,
that
I
going
do
forward?
that now. So now I just tell the truth.
No
I
matter what?
used to. Yeah, I think unless I'm feeling in danger,
Mm-hmm.
or otherwise threatened, I tell the truth.
So this is like the faking an orgasm thing, in that you didn't have the language to tactfully escape from that situation. But now it's not about you having the tactful language. It's about you just, not being as worried or something?
Just asserting that I think I know how. It is about having tactful language, first of all. And it's also about knowing that I can walk away at any time because I don't owe anybody anything. Like, as soon as I say, "Oh, you probably saw that I was in the news some years back," I don't have to answer their questions, any follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Like, I'm minding my own business.
And even if they might be a person who's a committed guilter, who thinks you're a killer, that doesn't bother you now, because seems to be the worry you had originally.
If I got the vibe that someone was a guilter hater and came up to me and was like, "Are you Amanda Knox?" I would feel threatened,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore I would escape from that situation without giving it any information as soon as possible. So,
You also don't have to answer some stranger's question. You can just say, "I gotta go." Say,
you can just kind of give them like
you can just
this
give
kind
them a
of
look
face
and then walk away.
walk away. Yeah. Which is probably the best thing to do because it leaves them open to interpreting what that
And it's
meant.
not a lie.
And it's not a lie. Yes.
Yeah. You don't owe them an answer.
Right. But I don't typically have people who I think are threatening me coming up to my face. So I don't really have to deal with that all that often. It's more like when people want to ask me questions about it. Like, they realize who I am and then they go, "Oh, I want to talk to you about your interrogation." And I go, "I don't want to talk to you about that."
Yeah. I'm also thinking of, there's the famous lie in your trials about the marijuana.
Yeah, how I lied that none of us smoked marijuana when obviously we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bit me in the ass, didn't it? Because once you tell a little white lie, suddenly people can find fault with anything that you say. And what are you going to say? Like, I never lie? Like, no, I clearly just lied about something. So again, like, your life is simplified if you pull a Jack Sparrow and just be honest about everything.
Now, and that's an interesting circumstance, because your Italian roommates asked you to lie about that to protect them and told you...
to protect all of us is the way that they framed it to me. It wasn't just like, "Protect us, Amanda." It was like, we need to protect ourselves.
But didn't they say, like, we're going to lose our jobs if people find out we smoke marijuana?
Yeah, they were going to lose their job. It's a crime in Italy to be in possession of marijuana, and I did not want to be accused of a crime.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha.
So, but the stakes for them being legal interns, especially like with the adjacent crime of this horrible murder, right? Like the marijuana seems like what? This
Well, I didn't
small
know
thing,
that. I mean,
right?
I didn't know that at the time. I'm 20 years old. I don't know how big of a deal smoking marijuana is. And when Laura and Philomena brought that up to me, I thought we might get in big trouble. Like, I didn't know. And so I took it seriously. And I thought, you know, I don't want to get into big trouble for smoking a joint.
And you don't want to
So,
get them in trouble.
and I don't want to get them in trouble for smoking a joint. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring up marijuana. And if they ask me about marijuana, I'm going to deny it. And it was a lie and it was a mistake. But it was born out of naivete. And I've since learned my lesson that you just don't lie about shit.
Yeah. I mean, so if you find yourself in a situation when a friend asks you, I need you to protect me, can you lie about this to protect me?
I would feel
You
very
just
uncomfortable
say,
with that.
I can't do that.
I would be very uncomfortable with that. I mean, it would depend on what the situation was and if they were feeling like their life was in danger or whatever. But like, I would try to find a way for me not to be forced to lie.
I mean, what if it's like there's a law that you consider to be unjust? I mean, we can come back to the drug war, right? And someone has broken that law, and you think it's a stupid law, and the thing they're doing shouldn't be illegal. They ask you to lie to cover for them.
I mean, well, what is the context of me being asked about it? Like, again, I mentioned that lying by omission does not count to me as lying. So the only time that I would find myself in a scenario where that would be an issue is
lying
they have been
omission
arrested.
Doesn't count as lying?
No, because I feel like there are boundaries. Like, you don't have to tell the truth in every situation. I don't have I have a friend who grows magic mushrooms. I don't have to call up the police and be like, guess what I know?
Well,
like,
offering up information voluntarily is different than like if the police ask you,
well, this is the
what
point.
happened
So
on
what
this
is the
night,
scenario?
and
No, well, this is the point. Is what is the scenario that I'm in? It's like my friend has been accused of dealing magic mushrooms, and I'm now in the police office being asked, do you know if your friend sells magic mushrooms? And I have to then say to myself, okay, do I tell them?
I mean,
or
that's not really a omission type scenario, right?
Well, this is what I'm saying, though. Like, in this scenario, the only time that I would be forced to lie is if I found myself in a position where I couldn't lie by omission, where I'm being explicitly asked about a crime that I know is occurring.
If they're, if like, say your friend had given you a care package that included, mushrooms along with some chocolates and some, whatever, fuzzy
and
socks.
And then what is asked of me?
And then the police are like, did your friend ever give you a care package? What did it contain?
Yeah, I would try to lie by omission.
It had chocolate and socks.
Yeah, those are not lies.
You consider that an honest response.
Yeah, although they would say anything else, and then I would be in a situation where I might have to lie.
If they're intelligent, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's probably some lie of omission type things that would bother me.
You don't like lies by omission. Because again, like, my thing is, you don't owe all of the truth to everybody. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind?
You're putting the burden on the person asking the questions to phrase their questions in just the right way to force you to have no way to omit.
But then
right.
It's that person who's feeling entitled to have information from me that I don't want to give that person. And like, if my mom were to come up to me and say, Amanda, I really want to know what you think of my haircut. Please tell me. Then I would be in a scenario where I would say, what is the thing that she is actually wanting? And is there a tactful way for me to be honest?
How about this scenario? You're dating some guy, right? And you suspect that he's cheating on you. And you know that he went out, out to a bar or
that
something,
he's cheating on me, I probably am just going to end it, whether or not I have proof that he cheated. Because that sounds to me like I'm in a bad scenario.
Let's conjure up a fake person named Jennifer. And Jennifer suspects that Bill is cheating on her.
I would say, Jennifer, get out. There's no reason to torture yourself. It's not like
Jennifer doesn't know you, unfortunately.
Okay, well, Jennifer should listen to this podcast. Like, I don't think that you should be in a relationship where you're worried that the person who is your significant other is lying to you. If you feel
you're fighting the hypo.
I am fighting the hypo.
Let me finish the hypo. And they're like, did you see anybody out at the bar last night? Like, let's say that Bill is cheating on her. What's Bill's moral obligation there?
Bill's moral obligation is to fess up that he's cheating on his girlfriend.
But if it's a lie of omission where he says, well, I saw Mike. Yeah, I saw Mike and Chad.
So he already lied by doing the cheating. He has already lied by cheating.
Is that a lie?
Yes, because if you are in a monogamous relationship, there is an implicit contract between you and the person that you are not going to go and cheat on them.
Well, it's a lie by omission. A lie,
No, it's not a lie by omission. It's an active lie in the sense that you went and cheated on your girlfriend. That is lying. Like,
That's not a lie.
Okay, well, it's a crime against your relationship, and I would say that the second you have committed this crime and you do not tell your significant other and you act
This is my point. That is a lie by omission.
No, but the lie is pretending and acting as if you didn't just cheat on your girlfriend. Like, that is a lie, because
no, it's not. I mean, it's a lie by omission. This is my point. Like, it's anything, if you're saying it's implicit, unless you say words that are false, that's what I mean by a lie. Saying words that are false.
Okay.
Right?
I guess I'm just interpreting certain actions as being dishonest as well as words. Hey, listeners. Thanks for tuning in. This podcast would not exist without your support.
We're all navigating our own personal maze.
And you don't have to be stuck in a prison cell to feel trapped in your own life.
Our mission with Labyrinths is to find growth and resilience through trauma, and we do that with a commitment to our core values.
Curiosity in a time of outrage. Compassion as a tool for understanding.
And the courage to ask hard questions and avoid easy answers. Please consider becoming a patron. Visit patreon.com/KnoxRobinson. For as little as $5 a month, you can get ad-free episodes and join our online community.
We even offer signed books and live monthly video hangouts. So please, grow with us. Join our community. Visit patreon.com/KnoxRobinson. So I'm choosing to interpret honesty in a more broad sense, that it has to do with actions and words.
Okay, so
you did a dishonest act by
let's say
cheating
that
on your girlfriend.
that you really dislike a coworker, and when you see them, you're like, hi, and you act all nice. That's a lie.
No, because there are reasons why you might be acting nice towards someone that you don't like. That doesn't mean that just because you don't like someone doesn't mean you can't be nice to them.
You're representing that you have friendly emotions.
No, so if you were to go up to them and be like, buddy, you're my best friend, that's lying. But if you are like cordial and say, oh, hi, Jennifer, hope you had a great weekend. Like, that is just basic human courtesy and recognizing that, especially when you're in a scenario where you don't have a choice who you get to work with, you are trying to manage the social scenario in such a way that it will lead to a positive outcome.
Let's go back to Bill and Jennifer.
Okay.
Let's say that
Bill's a dick.
Yeah, Bill's granted. I'm not holding up Bill as a moral paragon here, okay? But let's say that he, on Valentine's Day, he gives his girlfriend a box of chocolates, roses, tells her he loves her, yada, yada, goes out for
all of which could be true. And he could
and
still
like
be
the week
cheating.
before, he hooked up with another girl. Right?
By
doing all that stuff, that's not necessarily a lie.
Sure.
And as you just pointed out, it could all be true. Maybe he does love her, right? Maybe those are all genuine emotions, right? And maybe she suspects nothing, right? So until she says, are you cheating on me? And he says no, he hasn't committed an active lie.
Well,
he has lied by omission if she says, oh, who did you see at the bar last night? And one of the people he saw was, Jessica, who he hooked up with, right?
What I'm saying, and you have yet to acknowledge what I just said, which is that I think that there is more to being honest than the words that come out of your mouth.
Yeah, but there's the actions, and I just described his actions.
Okay,
and
so
you
his
agreed that those actions could be genuine.
Of stepping out of his relationship is dishonest. Because the implicit understanding between two people is that neither of them are stepping out. And so for him to step out,
it's a violation of the implicit contract.
of the implicit honesty contract, between two people.
Well, honesty is about communication, right? It's only about communication. It only makes sense in the context of communication. So if it's a violation of the contract of being faithful, implicit or explicit, that people have in a relationship, but it doesn't become a lie until communication becomes involved.
It's dishonest, so I view it as dishonest. We began this whole thing with honesty. Is it good or is it whack? And I'm saying that is dishonest and it is whack.
It's not dishonest.
It's dishonest to step out of your relationship.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No.
Because there is an implicit communication between two people who are in a monogamous relationship that you can expect certain things from them.
So the moment that it becomes dishonest is like, let's say that, Bill is away on a business trip.
Okay, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree and ask our audience about this one, because I fundamentally disagree with you that it's not. You're saying that him stepping out on his relationship is not dishonest.
Okay, scenario.
You're only saying that not lying, not telling the truth about it is dishonest, and that's not true.
Let's say Bill's on a business trip.
I am kind of done with Bill.
Just give me one more.
I'm done with
one
Bill.
More.
I'm really
one
good.
One more, please.
No, I'm good.
How about Mike is on a business?
I don't. I'm done. I'm done. Like, I'm good. I have broken up with Bill.
Okay, then I'm going to tell you about the audience. I'm going to tell you about Bill.
I'm stepping out of this conversation.
If Bill cheats and then immediately calls up Jennifer and says, I have to confess, I stepped out.
Yeah.
Was he ever dishonest?
Yes, he was dishonest in the act of stepping out, and then he realized he was dishonest, and then he became honest again.
So I would say, maybe we throw this to the audience, that no, he was never dishonest. He violated the contract, and then he was honest about violating the contract.
Okay, well, this is a nuanced take that people can disagree with. I think that if you...
Not all bad things are dishonesty. It was a bad thing for him to...
I'm saying this as somebody who has, kissed somebody outside of my relationship before. I did that before, and I think it was dishonest.
Well, it was immoral, maybe.
Well, anyway. Just saying. So,
okay.
Anybody...
I think let's end on a good note, which is... I think the one positive exception to all this is pranking and surprises. Is dishonesty okay in those circumstances?
Right.
Surprise party.
Yeah, surprise party. I mean, again...
Good-natured prank that the person you have good reason to believe the person will enjoy.
So pause. You keep interrupting me.
Okay.
Okay? So the surprise party doesn't necessarily entail a lie. You just lie by omission, which again, I think is fine, because you don't say to the person, you can say, we're going out to dinner. You don't need to say, we're going out to dinner with all your friends and it's going to be a big surprise. You decide what information you want to convey. And...
Yeah, but they might say, oh, who's going to be there?
I mean, you're just don't worry about it. You'll see. There are ways to tactfully be honest.
I think it's okay to lie to them in that scenario.
Okay.
Oh, it's just going to be Bill and Jennifer,
I mean, sure, I suppose that's it's a white lie, but I would prefer to have a tactful, honest response. Just saying. In terms of pranking, you mean what is the prank? Just create this prank scenario that I'm not going to get offended by.
I mean, the one I'm thinking of, and I don't know, this was bad.
Yeah, I'm imagining it's bad. I think you think, see, this is the slipperiness of the white lies. You think it'll be funny, so it's totally fine, and then it's actually traumatizing.
I mean, I'm thinking of the time when a friend of mine hooked up with someone who I didn't want him to hook up with, and then you told him that she was pregnant. And then a week later, 2 weeks later, I was like, dude, she missed her period. And then I let him sweat it out for I don't know, a day and a half or something.
I think you're a bad person.
And then the next day I called him up and I was like, dude, I'm just pulling your chain,
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I think that's unethical.
Okay, well...
I think it's none of your business who he has intimate relations with, and so you're a jerk.
Well, it was my roommate, and I didn't want to create, he was entering into
he wasn't being
a social dynamic.
Yeah, he wasn't being respectful of your social dynamic, but that doesn't give you the right to lie to him.
It was, I will say...
You can decide that you don't want to be friends with him anymore. You can decide that you don't want to be roommates with her anymore.
It did not impact our relationship in a negative way, for what that's worth.
Well, that's not... I don't care, because it could have. he could have been deeply offended and never been friends with you ever again. It didn't, like, either way, it would have been justified.
This is the thing about a prank, is that the relationship between the pranker and the prankee, it's a judgment call of, like, is this person going to think this is funny in the end and forgive me for needling them in a certain way?
For lying?
For making them uncomfortable or whatever it is. The pranks do that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
Or will they be really mad at me and hold a grudge? And you have to make that judgment call.
Pranks are kind of mean. I don't really like pranks. I'm trying to think of a prank that I actually think is funny.
Uh-huh.
And I'm really having trouble because ultimately I think that pranks are mean.
So you would ban pranks?
I mean, I don't play pranks on people.
So what's that MTV show? You would just get rid of it.
I mean, the weird thing
Pranked.
about...
Is that what it's called? Jackass. No. What am I thinking
Jackass
of?
is when they do horrible things to themselves.
Ashton Kutcher?
Oh, yeah. What is that one? Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
No, I don't like that at all. I think that that's mean. And especially to do that on camera.
Yeah.
No, that bad job, Ashton Kutcher. Like, I'm sure you're a very nice person, but pranked was not a good call.
Okay, so where we've settled is that we have some interesting disagreements about, like, law enforcement mafia stuff. Whether or not stepping out of a relationship counts as a lie in the Bill Jennifer scenario, we have not resolved that. I think we're probably mostly in agreement that pranking is bad, although I think I might think of some exceptions. And then I think we're mostly in agreement that surprise parties are good and you should try to do it by omission.
Yes.
But there might be times you're okay with someone lying, white lie, you know?
If it's so that you're setting them up for a joyful, pleasant surprise, sure. But again, be careful of the slippery slope. Like, it is so slippery. It's very uncomfortably slippery. Like, a really good one that I think that was great that you did is you took me out camping for my birthday once, and you just didn't tell me where we were going. And
actually, this was a really good one. So, like, I had everything hidden in the car. She didn't know the car was all packed up with camping gear. And I said, hey, let's go for a drive. And then when I got out to the main road, I said, you know what? Pick a number, 1 through 10. And she said, 3. And I said, oh, okay. And I turned right. And,
and then he kept
every time we came
that.
to another junction in the road.
Giving me the impression that I was randomly choosing our route, when in fact he knew exactly where he was going and was just pretending, which is fine because you never explicitly, you implied that my answers were. Yeah. So that's like.
This went on for hours until we got all the way out to the peninsula.
It was driving me insane. And in fact, because you let it last so long, I was starting to get mad at you because I don't like you lying to me.
We got all the way to the turnoff towards Port Townsend, and that's a place that it's a city we both liked going to. We've had romantic history
getting
there.
On a boat. Yeah. And he was like, oh, I guess we're getting on this boat.
And normally we get on one ferry, and then when I did the 1 through 10 thing, I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're going on the other ferry. And then we went all the way, and finally we get to the turnoff to Port Townsend. And Amanda thinks she's finally figured it out here. And she's like, aha, this is a romantic birthday trip to Port Townsend.
That you are spoiling by being an asshole.
And then I say, okay, 1 through 10. And she's like 7. And I'm like, okay. And I go right past the Port Townsend turnoff. And this was the point at which you got really upset.
I got very upset. And you were just holding on to it because you thought it was funny. And you were spoiling a perfectly good day that was supposed to be about me for your psychotic enjoyment. So slippery slope, folks. Slippery slope.
But in the end, wasn't that a nice surprise?
I would have preferred you just said, surprise, honey, we're going to go out to go camping. That I would have preferred. And then I would have gotten excited for the thing. And instead I spent hours wondering what the hell was going on and being so mad at you.
I remember that as a pleasant camping trip. Yeah. Well, anyway, don't lie. When you say you're going to pre-order Amanda's new book, free.
Nice. Thank you.
You know where to find us on Bluesky, at wisecracker.bsky.social,
at amandaknox.com.
And you can, in fact, go to amandaknox.com to sign up for our newsletter and learn about everything we're up to. including book event dates for Amanda's new memoir, Free.
I'll be doing readings / signings / answering questions. So thanks for everyone.
See you next time.